Okay, folks, when you see a turd pile this big, it must be because of DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, our favorite acronym for the day. It is a pseudonym for envy, one of the 7 deadly sins. And I'll tell you, the nails in the coffin are getting more and more for DEI, especially since the Harvard incident. And here's an example right here. I'm just reading this for the first time, but I just was like, I got to turn on the video. We got to make this thing and figure it out together, folks. So, John Hopkins, just sent out this hit list of people automatically guilty of privilege, whether they know it or not. Males, whites, Christians, mid-aged people, able-bodied people, middle and owning class English-speaking people. Sounds like this person's a racist, right? You're a racist, aren't you? I just have a little inkling in my soul that you might be. And from the haircut and the look and this kind of the propped up look, it looks like a diversity officer. They kind of have this look like I am absolutely unqualified for most anything except grifting. I'm great at grifting. And so cut your hair short, make sure you're a black, and make sure you're a lesbian too. And this is all very helpful. This message was emailed directly to employees from the DEI office. Oh gosh, she is, and she's got the clown look. So this is essentially ghetto, given a 6-figure job to simply grift and hate. That's what these people do. Grifting and hating. That's their thing. Merry Christmas to you too, sweet cakes. Happy New Year. Welcome to the January 2024 issue of the blah, 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 blah. Okay, enough. This year we'll be in a new location, the Chevy Chase Auditorium. Oh, good heavens. Okay, let's go to the second part. Diversity word of the month. Privilege is a set of unearned benefits given to people who are in specific social group. Privilege operates on personal, interpersonal. You mean anti-white. That's what you mean. You mean just say it. I mean, we know what you mean. You already hate everybody, but this is you've learned this. You've learned from Marxists to pit the oppressed and the oppressor, to view everything in life through that lens and not really do anything of your own worth or create or build, but to destroy and deconstruct all in the meantime making a lot of money at it. We know who you are. Privilege is a set, and this when somebody comes out with this when they say this means they're privileged. They're in a privileged position. You know why? Because they're protected at Johns Hopkins. They're protected. You're formally giving a racist, you're formally giving them a position at a university and calling it like an officer position. We're giving it a formal title. You're giving a formal title to racism right here. And that's a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. Don't care who you are, even if you're white or a white guy out there, you're still in the same boat, dude. I don't care. You're still carrying the torch for Marxist policy. You know that in the end, this isn't about being soft and kind. That's just some frosting they put on the top. The core of this is hate and envy. That's the core of diversity, equity, inclusion. It has nothing to do with those words, by the way. Privilege is a set of unearned benefits, like this woman said, unearned, Chief Diversity Officer's Corner, whoever this is. Set of unearned benefits given to people who are in a specific social group. Privilege operates on personal, interpersonal, cultural, and institutional levels. And it provides advantage. Look for buzzwords and buzz phrases right here, okay, because they've been told this stuff. They've been instructed. And it is also a cover for incompetency too, their own incompetency. Privilege operates on a personal, interpersonal, cultural, and institutional levels, and it provides advantages and favors to members of dominant groups like hers at the expense of members of other groups like everybody else. In the United States, privilege is granted to people who have membership in one or more of these social identity groups. White people, I don't know. Thinking of a couple of white people in some trailer parks that I'm not seeing too much privilege here. It operates on a personal, interpersonal. This is very ambiguous too. Able-bodied people. So if you have 2 arms, 2 legs, and you are healthy. Heterosexuals, cisgender people, males, Christians, middle or owning class people, middle-aged people, English-speaking people. And she's speaking English. So it's her. She's writing in English and she's speaking in English. So she's an English-speaking person. She is privileged. She already identified herself as privileged. So I don't know, you just kind of discounted this entire stupid newsletter. Privilege is characteristically invisible to people who have it. People in dominant groups often believe they have earned privileges they enjoy, like her, or that everyone could have access to these privileges if only they worked to earn them. In fact, privileges are unearned and are granted to people in the dominant groups whether they want those privileges or not, and regardless of their stated intent. This is okay. And so let's look at the comments, because I'm just waiting how wonderful this is going to be. Let's see, Frank says, Black female chief diversity officers are more privileged than nearly everyone covered under that list. They are paid far more than the average middle-class person, and they have the privilege of being hired and treated above criticism because of their race and sex. I believe the most protected class in our society is either LGBTQ groups or DEI officers, chief diversity officers. I really do. At this point, we can see the privilege just using, this is kind of a formal, a corporate-backed narcissism is what DEI is. Even if a DEI person is out there thinking, I'm doing good in the world, the core of DEI comes from the cultural wars that were pushed and began propaganda-wise in 2012. That's where it came from. Because DEI wasn't even a term before that time. It wasn't even a term. Please watch my video on the statistics of the cultural war, the actual metrics that have been done, and that this is all artificial. And as soon as people started to go, well, I don't know, I mean, we could get along as different races, they realized we've got to start the culture war, because people are starting to notice that what Wall Street's doing. They're paying too much attention with Occupy Wall Street and things like that. So they started the culture war, and Obama started it too. You have said the absolute truth. DEI is just a rebranded version of anti-white, anti-West agenda. Well, yeah, obviously, anti-white, she said that, white people, and West, because she referred to English-speaking people, generally the West, which is interesting because she speaks English. She wrote the whole thing in English. She didn't write it in some other language. She didn't write it in Chinese, although she's probably paid by the Chinese. Allegedly, okay? Have membership in one or more of these groups. Does she speak English? Is she middle class, able-bodied? She's got a lot of privilege. She checks off those 3 boxes right away. She speaks English. She's obviously middle class. She's probably upper middle because she's making 6 figures. What was it? One officer I saw, a DEI officer, was making $170,000. She's got to be making, she's at Johns Hopkins. She's got to be making 200. Okay, just that's my guess, but I'm thinking Johns Hopkins, and diversity officers get paid a lot. But again, the ship is sinking since Harvard. So this is another nail in the coffin for them. Middle-aged people, so now just being alive makes you an oppressor. Indeed it does. Stop breathing for 5 seconds. If you're alive, I'm sorry, you're privileged. Okay, sorry folks. Can't help but laugh at English-speaking people. What? So basically, anyone who got through the 5th grade are privileged. They can't be serious. Yeah, I wish. But in this day and age, you know. I miss the old Johns Hopkins. Liberals furious. Johns Hopkins chief psychiatrist says transgender is a mental disorder. Yep, I remember that. Fantastic, which it is. Message smells like a black racist to me, because she is. She is a black racist. That's all it is. And you know what? There are black people out there who are not racist. I actually believe that. There are white people out there who are not racist. There are Asians. There's all these people. I'm not trying to pander. I'm saying there are people out there who don't think that way. It's just you don't hear it in the news because that doesn't make money. Those people don't. They're they're gonna be living more of a wallflower type of existence because that doesn't get attention. And so the message from the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina: many of those who cry out so angrily about racism and sexism are doing so not out of love, but hate. They want to be superior, not equal. They want revenge, not reconciliation. If they achieve their goals, they will become the very racist and sexist they claim to despise, and hate and injustice will continue instead of cease. That's why I said, and Thomas Sowell has a fantastic quote on this, that they're one of the seven deadly sins forever was envy, okay, which incorporates jealousy and greed and hatred of other people. And envy does this. If you look at somebody, you see your neighbor has a nice car, and you go, oh man, admiration would go, wow, that's pretty nice, man. Well, I wonder what they did to get that. I should do that because I want a car like that. So maybe I should work really hard and do that because maybe I could one day. Envy is going, I hate that they have that car. I'm going to go over and steal it. I'm going to destroy it. I'm going to take it from them. That's envy. And that's why envy is the voracious, always hungry vice. It's never satisfied. And so he nailed it right here. This is a person who suffers from a massive amount of envy and is actually the most privileged person in this public forum right here. DEI is repackaged Marxism, Maoism, yep, with American characteristics. So race, class doesn't work very well in America, not quite as well as it does in places like Europe or like Russia, stuff like that. That's why it was so successful. Communism was successful. Here, communism doesn't work really well that way. We don't have as much of a caste system in America. What works really well is if you tap into the racism and go, hey, let's put this lens over everybody's face so that they look at everything, every other race as privileged or this way or that way, as oppressor oppressed. Everybody around them, they're going to look at that way based on some immutable characteristic. Heaven forbid that anyone should want a doctor that can communicate in English in the United States, where English is the spoken language, and it actually is the official language. Isn't that amazing? Wow, it's amazing what you learn. I mean, patients have no need to be able to understand their doctor's diagnosis and instructions, right? John Hopkins is throwing away their legacy of being a respected and honored institution over the DEI movement, and that history will list as the thing that brought down the venerable institution of promoting racism and discrimination, and too many phobias to mention. So, we've seen Harvard fall, Yale fall, they're all falling. George Soros is super happy about that. Our academic institutions are an absolute nightmare of a joke right now. And I say, if you're in some other field like engineering or science or math and stuff like that, I'm sure there are excellent academics at those places, but some of those people have to just keep their opinions to themselves. They have to just be quiet, do their thing, and shut up if they want to keep their jobs. Because what we're dealing with a mafia type of system in academia. And so if you don't fit into this mold, if you don't adopt this, how would you say, this dogma, this religious dogma, this secular, religious to a point, Jim Jones dogma, you're out. So you either nod your head and agree if you want a promotion, or you just be super quiet about it and, well, nod your head. Extremist trans activists are attempting to force women to place, okay, that's something, oh, that's Prager. Middle-aged people are protected class for purposes of anti-discrimination laws. Strange that they are now classified as privileged. Yeah, I thought ageism was a thing too. Like, isn't that the newest, like, hey, you're being ageist. You discriminate against people who have a certain age. I don't know. Liberal virtue signaling. Hate has no home here unless it's hate for Trump, his supporters, white men, Christians, and conservatives. Indeed. Black privilege. The ability to break every law in the country and still remain the victim. Well, pretty much. John Hopkins also hosted the Bill Gates WEF pandemic study in October 19 and March 2020. We got a check notes. Global pandemic. What are the actual odds? I don't know. How about not being aborted privilege, aka the privilege to be alive? Yeah, privilege isn't always a bad thing. The privilege to be alive, the privilege to have food, the privilege to drink water, the privilege to have a working vehicle, the privilege to have a bicycle, the privilege to be able to use your legs and walk, while other people out there can't walk. There's people who are paralyzed or quadriplegics. That's a privilege. So privilege doesn't always have this bad connotation, but the social justice cult, they want to push that. They want to push that because it's divisive. That's all they got, folks. When you look behind that in that veneer of divisiveness, there's really nothing they're giving to society. We know this. I'm just stating common sense here. Cursed me. Censor me now for that, please. There is a place for negativity. It's over there, far, far away from here. Our tax dollars hard at work. Abolish this nonsense. Why do we let people like this in positions of power? Listen to NYC AG Letitia James. I don't want to put the audio on because I can't stand her. Too male, too pale, and too stale. Yeah, she's a non-biased prosecutor, isn't she? Yeah. Johns Hopkins is proud to promote racism. They're actually doing everyone a favor by being this blatant about it. Now people know not to send their kids there. This is the beauty of free speech. It allows evil people to expose themselves. Thank you. And thank you, Twitter. Twitter ain't perfect, but it's allowing more of a public forum, a lot more of a public forum. Certainly isn't perfect. But Elon Musk once said this, and I actually agreed with him. He was saying that's the importance of having a public square, a forum, like Twitter, a public forum where everybody, no matter what speech you have, you can go on there. I can safely sit in my house, and if somebody says something hateful, they're not doing anything to me. I can just go, well, they've exposed themselves. I know who they are now. That's the problem with censorship, is if you censor, you aren't allowed to see people for who they really are. And in the public forum, you're allowed to do that. You share ideas and opinions, and some of those opinions would be deemed hate speech according to the powers that be. But without that censorship, we can actually see that. It's not censored. So we can actually be exposed to it and go, now I recognize it. Now I know I don't want to be that way, or I know I don't want to hold those opinions, or I know that I can express my opinion in just as much of a manner and still have my opinion be voiced. And then people will judge on their own. People will make their own judgments on what they decide to do. If they want to follow you or listen to you, or they just want to block your account and not have to listen to you. That's the joy of freedom of speech, is we should be able to see all of this. The good, the bad, the ugly, yes, all of it, so that we can make our own judgments about it. That's very important. I'm big on that, of course, obviously. I see this as something so much more serious. The agenda of diversity departments is evil. It's a worm eating its way through America's foundation. Yes. It's culture, it's ignorance, and it is envy. It is the goal of socialism. It is cultural Marxism. Socialism is the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. This list is envy, pure and simple, making people the target who have more, are healthier, middle or owning class, English-speaking Christians. Yeah, describe why. You have to define why Christians in particular. White or male, it's sick and obvious. This philosophy has one purpose: to upend the country. These people are the enemies of truth, justice, fairness, and equality. And it's wonderful that we've been able to see it. I'm glad we know these things because these people don't like to be seen by anybody outside of their internal community at Johns Hopkins. But the bonus is we get to see these things. These things are sent to us from people, and the entire world can judge. And the entire world, it seems like many people are like, this is wrong. You're wrong. But I mean, that's our opinions. But hey, this is not right. What you're doing, we can see through you. You're communicating and you're revealing yourself. You're revealing every bit of yourself. You're revealing who you really are. And now we know this person up here, don't know what their name is, the diversity officer. Okay, John Hopkins. Let's look it up. John Hopkins, DEI officer. It looks like people have already been looking this up, probably. Katrina Caldwell, PhD. What? Okay, that's not. Is that the same person? It could be. Let's see. Yeah, diversity Hitler. Oh yeah, Dr. Sharita Golden. I don't know. Is that a real name? I think she made that name up. Yeah, Sharita Hill. It was sent for the hospital's monthly diversity digest. Yeah, this person is Sharita Hill is the person. Okay, so we got that down. This is what a person who struggles with envy and quite a bit of insecurity. This is what they do. They've been propped up, given a bunch of money, and been given a title of professional grifter. So that's the thing. So we're putting racists, like this is their job, to be racist, and in charge of like John Hopkins as the head of DEI. So call these people out, these dipshits like this, and call them out for who they are, expose them. That's why we have free speech. So we can expose these people. We know who they are. For too long, these type of Marxists, this was kind of hidden, and we weren't paying attention either. That's the thing too. That's the advantage they had. Now, they don't have that advantage as much, and we need to call them out for who they are. This is shit, okay? This is a turd pile, and it's full of lies and envy, this person. So anyway, just wanted to mention that, and look at that. I hadn't seen that before, but boom, there you go, folks. So anyway, enjoy, and let me know what you think below, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Okay, folks. John Hopkins, this is why freedom of speech is so important. The DEI officer, Sharita Golden, who wrote this horridness, she just sent out a new letter retracting her statements that I just did a whole video on. I just found it. The John Hopkins DEI office has retracted their privilege list after her post went viral and drew massive outrage. Here's Sharita. Uh-oh, because she's begging to keep her job, because I guarantee she'll be working at the dollar store if she gets fired. So to the John Hopkins medicine community, dear colleagues, yesterday I sent the January edition of a monthly diversity digest, blah, 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 blah. The newsletter included a definition of the word privilege, which upon reflection I deeply regret. The intent of the newsletter is to inform and support an inclusive community at Hopkins, but the language of this definition clearly did not meet that goal. Well, because you went on a racist rant. This was a racist, and it was a total anti-religion tirade too. But the language did not meet that goal. In fact, because it was overly simplistic and poorly worded, oh, it was worse, honey. It was way worse. It had the opposite effect of being exclusionary and hurtful to the members of our community, which is DEI in a nutshell. DEI is exclusionary. Okay, anyway, I digress. I retract and disavow the definition I shared, and I am sorry. I will work to ensure that future messages better reflect our organizational values. Like plain up 100% racism is what this is. You are a black supremacist. Let's just call it, you are an anti-whitist completely. You are these things. Stop being ambiguous. DEI officer is not what you are. You are somebody who should not have this job. She is the Vice President Chief Diversity Officer at Johns Hopkins. Well, this is what it takes, folks. It takes enough people putting the heat on from a public forum to get them to retract their message. They don't like it, but you know what? We know how they are. We know who they are. They've exposed themselves, and that's why it's so important to be able to have a public forum, because these people will expose themselves, and we can see and identify fraudulent things in society. And who are the frauds perpetrating stuff in society? So anyway, just wanted to finish that up. Thanks for watching, folks, and have a good day. Bye.